I am exceptionally disappointed with Dollhouse. This is the 2020 film, and I thought, this sounds amazing. This eats right into what I love from horror films, or at least it sounded like it did. The premise is quite enticing. It's about an 11-year-old girl who arrives at a foster home bringing her doll and dollhouse. Soon after, strange things begin to happen and everyone is in danger. That's the description from IMDb. That's accurate for maybe the second half of the film, but it took so long to set up. And this was only an hour and 25 minutes. It spent a good 20 minutes just setting up. And the first 20 minutes were actually alright. But once this 11-year-old little girl arrives, it's dull. And that's absolutely nothing against the actor. None of the performances were bad. In fact, all of the performances were really good in this. I thought there were a lot of great performances that kind of made it watchable, because the narrative absolutely didn't. There was nothing in the narrative that I thought worked well. Could have done, but terrible execution. But the acting I actually quite liked. The editing as well was very good. But nothing really happens. It's directed by Steve M. Smith, written by Smith and Christopher Jolley. Really good cast: Mark Wingett, Toyah Willcox, who plays Layla. As I said, very well acted across the board. So I have no complaints there. It's just there's no narrative. There is no narrative whatsoever. And it's just dull. It's very dull. The special effects, as I said, were alright. So had the narrative been well executed, the special effects would have made it something really quite fantastic. But apart from some decent editing that made it a little bit engaging, and some quality acting that was, appreciated a lot, because it was really one of the only things that made this film watchable, it's not good. And that's such a shame, because I love with a passion horror films based around children, creepy children, demonic children, possessed dolls. It had all of the hallmarks of something that I was going to love. And unfortunately, it just did not deliver. It did not deliver anything whatsoever. So I'm not sure what went wrong. I'm not sure why it didn't work. I mean, I know it didn't work because the narrative was dire, but it could have been so amazing. It might have worked better as a book. I think if I were reading this and getting absorbed in it that way, it might have been okay. But as a visual piece of art, even though the visual aspects were not bad, the narrative just doesn't match. And sadly, very disappointing. I will not recommend it. There are many other doll-based horrors, or child-based horrors, depending on what you're looking for, that I'd recommend before this. Also, 2.6 out of 10 on IMDb. I would have said maybe 3.5. It's not the worst film ever. As I said, there are positive things about it. Just the aspect that made me drawn to it, the child doll horror, not very good at all.